Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very special and free training here at WPStudio. Most of you probably do know me as the professor or Benjamin or whatever you want to call me, but I am delighted that you're here to join me for our training that deals with conditional logic. Now, few of the logistics to get out of the way. We do have a chat room over at wpstudio.com/chat. At that location is there are two downloads. You'll see them two green buttons at the bottom of the chat room. One is a conditional logic cheat sheet. And it looks like this. It's got everything that you need to know about conditional logic all in one page. There is also a 6-page handout that is also available that walks through pretty much everything that we're going to do today in this training. The other thing is you can use that chat room over at wpstudio.com/chat. Most people will be over there. Or if you have a smaller device or a tablet, you can also use the chat room that is built into this Zoom application. And I will be watching and following both. If you do enter a question into the Zoom chat, I probably won't type a response. I will just respond to it verbally. So those are a few of the logistics that we're going to be working with. And also, one of the things that I try and do every single training, we are going to do live development on a site so that you will see things show up, not show up, and we'll get to view a lot of the conditional logic. And so we'll do it here on this website, WP Code Campus. So to get started, I wanted to just have a brief conversation, and then we'll bring all our code and all our websites back. Because let me talk about where most people get introduced to conditional logic. And that would be in the widget section of a WordPress website. You may have downloaded a plugin called Widget Logic or some variation of Widget Logic that has either a box here or a drop-down area that allows you to select where and when something would be visible. So that's where most people get their first introduction to conditional logic with WordPress. And that's great. And we'll work a little bit with this. But the same conditional logic that works here can also be used throughout your entire website to make it so much more dynamic and so much more interactive and so much more beneficial for your clients. So I wanted to talk about 2 or 3 scenarios. Because some people, you might be thinking to yourself, what is, quote, conditional logic? Let me ask just a survey for those of you in the chat rooms. How many of you would say you're not super comfortable with PHP, or you've never really messed with PHP? Anybody would say, or you prefer not to mess with PHP. That's perfectly fine. There are tools out there that will handle a lot of this conditional logic, but not to fret, because the concepts of conditional logic, yes, it's PHP, but it also is very language oriented, meaning if you understand an English language, you could understand what conditional logic does. So I'm going to give you a non-technical definition of what conditional logic does with a WordPress website. So, and I may use little references from our example website that we'll be playing around with. Let's say you have a recipe website, or your client has a recipe website, and you have a gluten-free section of recipes. And the only way you make money off of your website is selling products. Maybe it's affiliate products to Amazon or some other cooking store. Let me ask the question to you. Do you really think that if on a gluten-free recipe page you will see any sales of flour or buy these grains? Probably not, because if somebody is looking for gluten-free, they're not wanting flour. They're not wanting those type of grains. So why would we waste our advertising space, either for our own website or our client's website, allowing a grain-based ad to show up on gluten-free? So that's what conditional logic does. It allows us to ask that question. Are we on a gluten-free site? If we are, let's not show gluten-free tags. Or what if you wanted an announcement only to show up on the front page, but nowhere else? Or you wanted to include a special feature image with each post that only showed up in the RSS feed. That's another scenario. Or I'm going to ask this question to those of you in the chat room. How many of you have ever done work or plan to do work for clients? Occasionally, yep. Okay. A lot of people there. Have any of your clients ever accidentally or on purpose deactivated a plugin because they didn't like the name of the plugin? You can answer to the first part. I can answer to the second part. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we could throw a huge alert window that would let them know that they need to stop being annoying and go back and reactivate that plugin? I am going to show you how we can actually do that today. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with conditional logic by doing some stuff that is way outside the box, just so you can start seeing and dreaming and envisioning how you can apply the stuff you learned today. All right. So the basic understanding of conditional logic is we can ask our website a question and the website will give us a response. And most of the time that response is either true or false. For this example, I'm going to say a few words and then we're going to be able to see if it's true. Are we on, hey website, yeah, since we live in the world of Alexa and OK Google and all the, oops, hold on, everything just turned on here. OK website, are you on the home page? Yes, I'm on the home page. And then we could go to OK website, are you on a single post page? Yes, I'm on a single post page. And then we can go through, hey website, are you on an archive page? Oh, yes, 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 yes. And then we can even have, are you on a 404 page? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I have no idea why my website has a gruff, old, Russian, who knows? My website is just having voice issues today. or it's like Oscar the Grouch or something. So now let us dig into the conditional logic. Now, I would recommend that you maybe leave the 6-page handout till afterwards. And you'll probably find if you want to keep up another page or on another side, this is the document you'll want to look at because we'll be spending a bit of time here. But the first thing I really want to spend some time with, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this little illustration. There is a space in this theme. It occurs between this orange navigation bar and before the content it begins. and it is a hook. It's a location in the theme that allows me to put something into it. Just so you see what we're going to do. Again, I will zoom this in just so everybody can see. Even if you know nothing about PHP, just go ahead and stick with me. All we're doing is we are sending an H1 tag to that location. Let me show you that it's actually working. We're sending this HTML to that location. And we're using it as a function because we want to be able to conditionally say when we want to send something there. And so if I were to refresh on our page, because we are sending this H1 tag, hello everyone now shows up. So does everybody understand? This is kind of where we're looking at. And this is the area that will show on all different places. I mean, right now, if we go to the blog page, hello everyone's there. If we go to a single post page, it's there. If we go to a page, it's there. If we go back to the home page, it's there. So just so everybody understands that we're going to be going back and forth between code. But what we're going to be doing is this little function, we're going to be able to turn it on or off based on some questions. And that's what the conditional logic is that we're going to be doing. Now, remember, everything we do here to turn this thing on and off can also be done here. And we will also, I'll demonstrate it this way. This way, you are all able to handle this. Marianne, your question, why not do this stuff in Code Studio? Right now, we're just trying to get a grasp of conditional logic. Yes, we could do all of this in Code Studio in the conditional area, but we're trying to step back and just look at core WordPress conditions. So, the first one that is actually very confusing for most people. Now, you guys in the chat room, you're going to be my website. You're going to answer for me. I'm asking you, am I on the front page? Yes. Good one. Am I on the home page? Correct. Well, just so everybody knows, there are two conditional tags. And I'm going to use this also as kind of like our little whiteboard so you can see the code. There is home is a conditional tag, conditional statement, and is front page. That's a conditional statement. Default WordPress is home and is front page is the same thing for default WordPress. But there is a difference, and there is actually hierarchy here. We'll deal with that in just a moment. But WordPress has a really cool feature where I can go to settings, reading, and set a static page for my front page. So, because you guys did not see this yet, it was a trick question. This is not the home page. Why? Hello everyone, and hopefully you also recognize this is the sample page, the default sample page for WordPress. That's where this text comes from. Take a look at this. Our front page has been set from our listing of pages as the sample page. Our post page now is the blog page, which means when I'm on what appears to be the home page of my website, the only conditional tag that will affect this is front page. Why? Because the home page always and forever to the end of the earth will be is home. Is home. The best way to remember this is my blog page home. This is where my feed of my blog always is going to be. So if I did not set anything here and I just did this, is home and is front page is the same thing. If I set this here, then this over here that says blog becomes is home. This becomes is front page. Let me show you that in action. All right. So in order for us to do this, we're going to use a PHP that says is front page. I'll explain this all in just a moment. And we're going to keep it real simple so you never have to get worried here. Our function here has not changed. It still has the hello everyone. But what we're going to do here is this section is a statement where PHP is asking the question if. Is front page is the question we are asking, that if this is true, we will do this. If it doesn't return true, PHP ignores everything that is in these braces. That's how PHP works. Now you guys understand PHP completely, right? If you ever see an if statement in PHP, if this returns not true, PHP stops. It's really cool. So we can now begin conditional thoughts. So when I save this, this is the functions.php file of my theme, and I hit save. Oh, am I not pulling this off? Hold on. Let me make sure I... One second, I just ran into an issue. Let me do it this way. We'll come back to this. Let's go over here. See this recent comment here on the home page and the blog page, recent comment, same thing. It's in the widget area. Let's go back over to the widget because this may be a little bit easier to not mess something up right at the very beginning of this training. Is front page. So that's a widget logic. I'm making the statement that if this is at the front page, we're going to do something. See, it went away. Notice that? What we're looking at going away is our recent comments. It's in the same widget area, just a different location because of the way the theme handles. But the recent comment shows up. Why? Because we're saying only show it on the front page. Now I go here to the blog page and it goes away. It's disappeared because the conditional logic return says, no, this is false. It's not home page. Let me show you is home. Hit save. Now when we're on the home page or the front page, see that it's gone. That recent comments, home, shows up. So, quick recap. Is home, it's the best to think of that as your blog home, and then when we split it out, is front page is the other way to do it. Does that make sense? All right. I'm just going to move this out of the way for just a moment. And I go through a lot of that in fairly detail in one of the handouts for you. The next thing is all around single pages, like single post pages. That would be like if I'm actually clicking on a blog page and I'm reading the post, or maybe I am on a single page, so this is an actual page called widgets below, and this is only showing here. And then if I had a custom post type, that's another type. So let me talk about the three different things. There is single. Let's zoom this in just so it's much easier to see. Is page and is singular. Whoops. We're going to talk about the difference. Maybe easier to understand the difference if we look at our dashboard here. So is single is always going to refer to any post type that is of the post origin, posts, that would also identify as other custom post types you may create. So if you create custom post types and you tell the custom post type that this is a type of post, on the single page, it's going to or on the single post, this is the definition of is single. Is page is any single page that is up here, and let me actually get my little annotation thing so that it's easier for you to see where I'm pointing at. So if it's at the is page or any custom post type. Now, when I say the word or any custom post type that has those capabilities, does anybody not know what that means? Because I can quickly demonstrate that for you guys if you need. How many of you have made custom post types before using a plugin? Anybody done that before? So a quick little jaunt down this path is we're going to be using pods. I'm going to create a new custom post type. We're going to call it a book, and the plural is books. When I create this custom post type, again, you see the custom post type show up right here called books. In the advanced option, and many of the custom post type plugins will do this for you, there's a user capability. This is deep in the heart of WordPress. If you join WPStudio, you know we'll dive into a lot of this so you can get a firm grasp on this. But you can choose whether you want your custom post type that you create to resemble posts, or do you want it to resemble pages. One of the primary differences, do you want it to be what's called a flat or a horizontal post type? Meaning, or another way to look at it is all the content pieces in that custom post type are of equal value. There's no hierarchy. Whereas pages here is a hierarchical post type. Another way to say that is you can have a parent page or a higher positioned page, and you can have sub pages or child pages. So that's when we're talking, when I deal with is page and is single, there is a huge difference there. So in order for us to get started, let's just talk about is single for just a moment, and then we will see it in action. If I used is single on my WordPress website, whether it's the widget logic or some other location, this will show or return true. So in the future, as we keep going today, when I say show something, or it's the same thing as saying return true, if I put this on there, it's going to return true for every single post. But I can start to single it out or identify things by doing this. Is single 237. This would be post ID 237. If you did not know this, every single part of your post type, every post has its own ID number. This goes back to the origin of WordPress. Every piece of content has to have a unique identifier, and it's called a post ID. So I have, with my tools here, every single one of my post items has a post ID. So if I wanted to only show something whenever this single post showed, I can grab this 433 ID, come over here and type 433, and now this is the only time it will return true. If there are other posts, it won't return true. Now, is single. I can also refer to it by its title, the post title. If I wanted to identify this one, hello world, I type it exactly as the post title would appear. And now this is the only one that's going to be true. And finally, we can do is single hello world. We could identify it as the post slug. Well, what's the post slug? If we went over here, hello world, the post slug is up here in the URL. And so that's the specific identified URL slug for this piece of content. Susan, great question there in the chat. Can you stack up multiple IDs? Yes. So this is the next step in all of our PHP learning. When we want to, for the most part, in PHP, have multiple items, they live inside what is called an array. ARRAY. So, if I wanted to have, and let's go back to our little post area. If I wanted to identify these three IDs, I can do is single array. Then I can simply begin listing off the items of 460, 458, 433. I can get even more creative because instead of using 433, what if I want to just do hello world? So inside the array, I can combine all three of these. All right, there's one rule you have to remember. If we're doing things singularly, or just doing one item for each inside the parameter area of this logic statement, they're always going to be wrapped with single quotes. When we add things to an array, your post title and post slug are always going to have single quotes, but once it goes into an array, your IDs don't have to have the quotes. All right. So there's Carrie brings up a great point that if you don't have a plugin or you're not using Loop Studio to insert this or simply show ID, if you hover over this, everybody look at the very bottom of my browser window. You'll see it say post equal 1 and action equals edit. So I know the post is 1. I hover over this, it says post equals 433. Great. That's one. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is actually click onto the post and take a look here. Post equals 433. It's in the URL. There's any number of ways that you can gain access to the post IDs. Okay, so now that we looked at this for the post, that brings us to is page. Well, guess what? Everything we did for is single, we can do for is page. We can do the ID, we can do the page title, we can do the page slug, and then we can combine them. So once you learn this for my single posts, I can do the same thing for my pages. So let's take a quick little look. Let's go to our pages. And what we're going to do for this widgets below, let's figure out what that ID is. And so we go here to 389. I want to remember that, 389. Now, let's go to this widget area. And let's come back over here. So I just want you to see, here's widgets below. There's a special sidebar that's using this. But what I want to do, this widget below, let's change this. I want to use a site, I want to use a page that is not having a custom sidebar. So let's check no widgets. Well, that won't help us. I love when I try and show you guys something, but because I've overthought it in developing something, I've got to step back. All right, so let's check. This is a new page. So it's not actually on the menu. So this is a new page. Great. So we're using the right thing. So this is a new page, has ID 37. So let's ID 37. We're going to go to our widgets. And let me remove this widget logic right now. We're going to save it, and let's go take a look at this as the new page. So recent comment shows up. Why? Because our widget for recent comment is showing up in that primary sidebar area for this page. It's also showing up on the blog page, which is using the primary sidebar. So we know it's now working on both the is home, it's working on our blog page, it's working on a single post page. So now let's add the conditional logic. And what did I say? It was 37 is page 37. So for this to be true, the page has to be 37 for us to show recent comments. So let's just refresh just to make sure we got it right. Okay, look, it's showing up. We know this is page 37. Let's check the other places where we knew it used to live. And look, it's gone. Okay, are you ready for the trick that blows people away who've never seen this? And Rick, sorry, I just saw your question on the exact match, or can you use regex? The conditional logic within like widget logic, yes, you could use regex, but for most, you're going to keep it as basic on the conditional logic that I have included in the kind of the cheat sheet handout. You're not going to really use regex in there because there's too much that you have to enable regex to be used. And if you didn't know what regex is, we're using the PHP to decipher and pull apart strings of characters so that we match things. We don't need regex for WordPress conditional logic. I guess that's the better way to do it. All right. Here is the awesome trick. Since this is always saying is page 37, it's only going to show there on page 37, which is this is the page. If you add an exclamation point before it, we do the opposite. So anytime with any of this WordPress conditional logic or PHP logic, if you add an exclamation point, we reverse that logic statement. So when I save this, it will now go away from this page. It's gone. But it will show in every other location. Why? Because the conditional statement says, is this not page 37? Then we will show it. Well, this is not page 37, so we're showing it. But we go back to page 37, and again, we got that from the actual ID of the page. It's now not showing. Okay, so we've seen how this works. Is page handles just like is single. We can combine them. We can do all sorts of things. Now we come to is singular. This is a newer one, but it has hierarchy. Let me ask the question. When I use the term hierarchy, do we understand, or does anybody not realize that hierarchy is a main part of WordPress, where one thing is more important than the other? If you've never heard that, just think about like CSS, where the last thing mentioned takes priority. When we deal with like themes, and we take a look at a theme, we can look at 2016. If we're on a single page, WordPress will look for page right here. If it can't find page.php in your theme, it will then fall back to index. So when we're thinking about hierarchy, you can also think about it as pre-setting up a fallback. So is singular is a way that we can identify is single, is page, is attachment, that's another one. It will respond to all of them. So if you want an overarching conditional logic statement, is singular will return true as if it were is single, and if it were is page, and if it was some other single post or single piece of content. This is also how we can begin to say, well, remember how we created that little custom post type called books there? I can put the name of my custom post type is singular, and so now this will be true if we're on the page, a single post page from the books. And again, for this is singular, we can do the same type of thing of even throwing in an array. But the array is not really individual IDs. It is an array of the different, post, muffin, whatever your custom post types are. If you want to identify the ID of a certain book post, you're going to be using this, is single. If you're wanting to give every one of your post of a custom post type and some other custom post type, that's where we use is singular. To say this just one more way, I'm trying to say it in as many different ways because sometimes it's circular logic. When you need to identify multiple post types together, you use is singular. Again, it's still referring to the single post display. When you are going to be identifying a single item, but it doesn't matter which custom post type it is because you can identify it based on the ID, you can use this is single. All right, so everybody followed on that one? The biggest pro tips coming out of this one, you can identify any individual post on your site by the ID, by the post title, by the slug. And then you can combine them. You can do it for is single, is page, is singular. And now for probably the most confusing one. How many of you have ever seen is category and then in category? What does that mean? One of them deals with the archive. And when I say deals with the archive, let's go back to this blog page. And I have an archive, a category archive called Lorem Stuff. Oops, Lorem Stuff, which means is category Lorem Stuff. This would return true if we're on this page, because this is the category for Lorem Stuff. If I clicked on this post that is in the Lorem Stuff category, when I say in category Lorem Stuff, this in one shows true on this page, not this page. This page, yes, because this is another post inside this category. Does that help? Is category, just think the is the archive, in is the single post. Okay, so once we learned is category, is archive, and in category is the single one, wouldn't you know it that WordPress would go and change it all up for when we deal with tags. Now, most people, there's a lot of themes that no longer use tags. Tags can be just another way to organize your data. But I do have a tag archive for this training called Tag 2. Now, if I want to do the tag archive, it's going to make logical sense. Is tag. Tag 2. Yay, that's the archive. The archive page, which is the listing of all pieces of content that are associated with this tag, we show there. But when we go to the individual page, the post, and we want to say, hey, are you in this tag? Nope. Tags, for some, whatever reason, doesn't use in. It uses has tag, tag 2. That's the single post. Okay? So, there is some strange logic here where we start with is and in for the category, but the tags are is and has. Now, are you ready for this one? Because we're going to do it even weirder. I told you some of this circular logic can make your brain leak. This is also what happens when you work on like a open source platform like WordPress that has been developed for 10 plus years. Different people have their own indication. So now, as you grow in your development, you may begin to add additional taxonomies. Maybe you're using a theme or a plugin that adds additional taxonomies. Perfect example is like a recipe site. Sure, you may have categories, you may have tags, but maybe you have a taxonomy called allergies. And so then you have another type of way of categorizing, whether it's gluten-free, whether it's peanut allergy, whether it's, a dairy allergy, whatever. Are you ready for this one? So first we say is tax, and let's say the name of that taxonomy is allergy. All right, so that is going to be the archive page of all the posts that have the taxonomy allergy. So, is category, in category. Great. It uses the word category, so we can kind of figure it out. Is tag, has tag. Sure, they changed that, but it still has the word tag. This is where it gets weird. Now, if we want to identify if the post, if we're on the post, we now do has term. Tax is for taxonomy. Has term is not, we do not just do allergy. Why? Because the term, the taxonomy here is much more broad. If the taxonomy is allergy, remember we do have other allergies that are we have other classifications in allergy where gluten, dairy, all these different types of allergies. So now we do, does this post, does it has the term dairy in the allergy taxonomy? Got it? You're kind of following. I go into more detail in the handout, so you can probably reread this, rechurn this stuff. And Rick made a good point in the other chat room in Zoom that categories, you can kind of think of them as containers or folders. So is and in makes sense. Tags are, I would say like stickers. Is this the archive of everything that has tag? Does that post, does it has the tag on it? Taxonomies, because we do a lot more with taxonomies, we have to identify not only the term, but the taxonomy that term comes from. Now, bear with me, we're going to come out of this mess in just a moment. Has term, I'm going to do something and then explain it. Dairy, gluten, cheese, nuts. So see now what we've been able to do? We have an array or a list of terms being used in the taxonomy of allergy. So, these are the three different ways that we can begin identifying items. So, when we begin to dive into how do we find and think ahead of our clients, mastering this conditional logic, like these things, can be very important because how many of you launch your site for the client and it is feature complete, all the content's done, and your client never updates? Well, yes, I know we have clients who never update even though we told them. But having this concept, you may have already pre-built their terminology, the terms that will show up in the allergy taxonomy. How many of you want to see a little example of this? Anybody want to see it in real life? Sometimes when we just talk, it may not fully comprehend. So let's do this. We're going to create a quick post type. And I'm going to call this post type recipe. Recipes. All right? We're going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to add other stuff. So now we're going to come in here and we're going to add a new taxonomy. And this will be called allergies. Now, before I go anywhere, I'm in my allergy taxonomy. You don't see it yet because I need to connect it to my recipe post type. So when I connect it, it will actually show up here in allergies. See that? So let's create a few allergies. So you have dairy. Create that allergy. Nuts. And gluten. And Facebook allergy. So, I mean, those are all things that are are real allergies. So now when I'm sitting here creating a recipe and I'm like, muffins, this is my amazing muffin recipe. So what are allergies of this muffin? Facebook and nuts. So be very careful. You might, or maybe dairy. We'll make gluten-free dairy nutted things. All right, so I have selected my allergies. Publish this. Now, when we take a look at this, we have our muffins. This is my amazing muffin recipe. It's showing up there. Again, we haven't customized any of the theme to show this properly because we haven't included those taxonomies. But now that you see this taxonomy working, you'll notice that as your client would make additional recipes and add it to the site, and they'll check the allergies. By being able to say, you know what, when we have any post or any recipe that your client writes that deals with nuts and dairy allergies, at this point, let's go ahead and let's do this. I'm going to copy this and we're going to use this exact one. So see this? We have recent comments here. I'm going to go back to our, where'd it go? Let's open up a new widget. We're going to add a widget. The text widget, before we add all this stuff, will be like, warning, do not bake today. I'm going to save this. Let's go back to our muffins. So we have warning, do not bake today on this area. But what if we only want to show it in this area when we're on a single post page or that has the terms dairy and or nuts here? So by adding this, has term array dairy nuts that are part of the taxonomy allergy is the only time it will show. So I'm saving this. Now when we refresh on this, it oops. I broke something because it should have shown. Or not is exactly what we should have said. Because this has to... Oh, I know what it is. I'll show you what it is here in just a moment. Let me see. I believe if it was lowercase, and you'll see why. Okay, there we go. We're back. Okay, let me show you why that is important. So let's go back to... everything is lowercase here. The reason why is it's not the name... And I think I actually wrote this for you, that it's actually the slug name, which means when I go here, visit our allergies, that's the slug. So it was actually not returning true because I was using the name, not the slug. So you use the slug, and notice how it now shows up. Do not bake. Well, if we go back to that widget, and say, oh, we only want to, if we only want one, Facebook, run away from the prying eyes. So if it has the term Facebook, we will give a warning. Save. All right, it should not show up. Let me move this out of here. Refresh. And I think I didn't save it. Oh, we are on Facebook. That muffins, let's edit this muffin one. Let's go back to our muffin. I forgot this one has the Facebook. So we go back to our muffin recipe, all recipes, edit the muffins. If we unchecked Facebook, refreshed, now we go back, our warning's going to go away. See how that works? The moment our recipe has a Facebook allergy, we get this. All right, so hopefully you can kind of start to see where this terminology, we can begin to think ahead for our clients. Only show a banner that says, warning, this recipe contains nut allergies, if one of the allergy things is checked. You might want to just say, only show it if it has the nuts allergy, because normally the dairy allergy and, the gluten allergy, or maybe you want to show a big one for gluten, because you want to make sure that nobody who has, oh my goodness, I just forgot the name of the, I can't, there is an, celiac disease. Thank you. If you have celiac disease, you absolutely do not want anything with gluten. So what a better way to do it than put up a big warning that, hey, this recipe, warning, this has gluten. But don't put it on any other recipe, only show. And so using these type of conditional logics, we can forward think and prepare our site to be that much more dynamic. Now, some of you might say, well, the client already selected nut allergy or something. Why do I do this? Because it'll say nuts on there. Sure, and you could also create other ways that, if they check this box and that box, it'll show up in this correct location. How many of our clients actually follow through with all the check boxes in order to publish? Yeah. And great question. I will get to your question on, well, could I load certain CSS using conditional logic? Absolutely, and we'll get to that in just a moment. All right, so I'm going to erase this. This is all in the handout. So another key, there are several other ones that I want you to know about. Comments open is a great conditional tag because I know many of you have sites or even client sites where you close down the comments. Well, why not open up if the comments are closed, so where we could say exclamation point, comments open, we can go to our post page and put, a little saying here that will only show up, sorry, this is now closed, head on over here. These are our latest blog posts, blah, 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 on things that have comments that are open. So that's a great one to know about. Is search will only show up on search results pages. It's a great way to put either, add in your widget areas for a specific location that only show up on search. We can also come around and say is 404. Marianne, yeah, this is the new widget logic. There isn't much that changed other than updating to PHP 7. And then that one little advertisement, but that got killed. So is 404 is another one. And you can look at the handout and see a whole bunch more, but this is where I want to have a little fun with you. Remember how I said, well, what if our client somehow gained access to turn off one of our plugins? Let's say you have stuff here with pods, and you're very concerned that if they somehow remove pods, you'd have problems. Yes, you'd have problems. First, I want you to go, and you can do this for any theme, or let's do Akismet. This is an easy one to do. So you have this anti-spam thing turned on, but what happens if they have deactivated this anti-spam? So let's do our let's come over here to our home page. We've got our recent comments area. Let's add another blog widget to this location. So I'm going to add a text widget to the secondary sidebar. And we will call this one, "Hey, crazy client, quit messing around and reactivate the Akismet plugin in. Otherwise, things will happen in 5, 4, 3, 2, whatever." So we only want that to show if that plugin is inactive. So we can do is plugin inactive, and then you have an argument in this area. So let's go back over here and I'll show you the argument. Sorry, the parameter. Is plugin inactive, and then inside the quotes is the path to the Akismet plugin. So we're going to open up this plugins. So it's everything based off of the plugins folder. So the first one is Akismet. That's the folder name. So we start there, Akismet / and then the main file in Akismet, which is akismet.php. The way you can find out what is the main file is it's the file that has the plugin name metadata on it. So that's what you're looking for. So when you find it, we do akismet.php. That is the conditional logic statement. So if I copy this, put it in my little warning area, this will only show if it is inactive. Save this. Let's go back to our site. Refresh. Hey, crazy client, quit messing and reactivate the Akismet plugin or things will happen. Oh no, I should go reactivate this plugin. So they somehow figure that out and hold on, it's loading the plugin page for some reason. It's taking... Come on, plugin page. And we're waiting. And did I break the site already? There we are. So then we activate this. Plugin is now activated. Let's refresh. It went away. How awesome is that? It is a very little known conditional tag, but we can use it in our theme. We can also use it in our own functions. That what if a plugin was active? If it was active, maybe you don't want to use your own spam thing, or you don't want to add in something else. If you can either ask, is plugin active or is plugin inactive? You cannot do this with this specific conditional logic statement. And finally, the big one before we talked about combining items is user logged in? This will return true if the person is logged in. If they're not logged in, it won't return true. Now we can do the opposite here. Which means is user not logged in would return true. So again, at the end of the day, with this conditional logic statement, we are trying to always get a true response from our website in order to do something. So, let me add this back in. When we save this, is the user logged in? Yes. Hello everyone shows up in this area. Let's go back here and do the exclamation point. Now when we refresh, it's not there. Why? Because I'm actually logged into the site. So without even having a membership plugin, anything you would wrap around is user logged in would show this information. So, getting back to a quick question that Anne asked earlier. Could you use conditional logic to only load certain CSS on a page? Absolutely. Let's say, here's a quick example that if I were enqueuing a certain style or a certain font or wherever I'm doing this, I could wrap that whole process with any of those conditional tags that we were doing. Now, for members of WPStudio, one of the benefits is I develop a lot of plugins. And one of the things that you could do is you could have your test CSS code. So our body tag would have a background color, a background of yellow. But we only want to load it using conditional tags. So is single is going to be our rule. So now when we publish this and we go visit our site, here I'm on the home page, here I'm on the blog page, here I'm on a single page. Oh, I should have warned you guys. I just burned everybody's eyeballs. And then we go back. So this concept of conditional logic can really revolutionize how you do your development, because you think ahead, and rather than simply hard coding something in, you let WordPress answer these questions and answer whether it's true. So now the final bits to at least have a conversation about is, what if I want to make sure not only the user is logged in, but they are also on a single post page. So in this case, we would combine things using is user logged in and is single. The double and sign says both of these have to be true in order for it to be true. And I can combine as many of these as I want. Is single and has term dairy allergy. So when I start to combine all of those, I now have where every single one of these things has to be true in order for it to show. If somebody is logged out and they're on the single post page that has dairy, it's not going to show anything. I could even say, if you're not logged in and you're on the single post page that has dairy, great. There's another way to combine them. It's the double pipes or the vertical lines. It's normally on a keyboard, the key right above the enter key or the return key. And by doing this, we can combine as many conditional logic statements as we want. But guess what? Only one of these has to be true for the response to be true. The way they're working is this operates like an OR statement. This operates like an AND statement. So now with this whole concept, if we were to jump back to that, if you were to look at the big 6-page handout and you begin answering those questions, what if you wanted to include a special featured image just on your RSS feed? Sure, you could go get a huge RSS plugin that would customize this thing, do all these other things, or you can just simply do is feed, and then whatever functionality you need goes right there. And now this will only show on, it's going to be like if is feed. Then whatever is here would only show up on this. Marianne, yes, you can combine ends and ors. But it does tend to get a little weird using the Widget Logic plugin, because her question in the chat room was, can we do something like is user logged in and is page, or is sticky post? Is the post that we're looking at sticky? When you do differences, PHP likes to wrap or keep like-minded concepts together. So you would have to combine these two so that both of these have to be true for it to work, or this one. So it goes back to the very beginnings of PHP, when we like to keep similar concepts grouped together. I mean, it's also like using basic arithmetic. If I were to do this 5 times 4 plus 3, how much does that equal? 23. But what happens when I do that? 35. So we need to process things together, otherwise we get something like this where, well, we know we're supposed to multiply first before we add. Maybe it's better if I did this. Did it in reverse order. We know we're supposed to multiply first, but this. But if you don't put your combiners, your parentheses in the right location, you'll get a completely different response. So this is the introduction to conditional logic. I really want to encourage you to think outside the box with this. For example, as you begin to learn how to move your development into doing page templates and theme development and expanding your capabilities, custom designing possibly for clients in the future, This has an excerpt is awesome. Why? Because this says has excerpt. What if, as we are working with our client and building a specially designed website, and you enable excerpts there, so the excerpt box shows up here. What if the client has something in the excerpt field? This is excerpt. But this excerpt will never show on the main content area. Well, why don't we add that? So again, this is just an example. This is not actually going to be functioning right now. But what we do here is, inside your loop, you have the content showing. You had the title up here, wrapped in an H2 tag, the title, whatever. We'll leave the title. But what about if you did something like this? If has excerpt block quote at the end of the content, the excerpt, close the block quote. By doing it this way and wrapping a conditional tag, and maybe if I actually spelled it correctly, it would help. By wrapping this, none of this will occur. Like, we won't even insert block quotes into our content unless that post that we're on has an excerpt. It's a way to say, don't fill this out unless the post actually has something there. And then if it does, we'll do something unique and creative with it. Same thing could be, for the post thumbnail or something, or the featured image, or all those type of conditional logic elements can be handled. So, the biggest thing to remember with conditional logic, it's you asking a question of your website so that every person who comes to the website, essentially their browser is asking a question. Hey, I'm here on the home page. Do I show this or not? Am I logged in? Do I show it or not? D. Great. I am a huge advocate of the consciously incompetent. So, just wanted to also let everybody know, as a way of thanking you, you may not have known, but we closed out the big membership sale of the WPStudio membership. The biggest part of WPStudio is the community. If you haven't seen this yet, I built a new page for everybody to know about. And I just lost my chat room. And Rick, since as you said, coming in afterwards, over at WPStudio.com/chat is the handout and the cheat sheet. If you haven't seen the membership, it's all about the community. The Slack channel is great. You can ask anybody in there who has already joined whether having direct access to me and other members of the community is helpful. You can also see that we've got the training members, Voce theme, plugins. The only way to attend my dev camp, it's like the developer course that I used to teach on steroids. And it's coming up in June. But for some people, it is a little bit expensive for the year, but I do have a quarterly membership. But what I wanted to do for every free webinar I do, we are going to randomly choose a coupon. And it will be between 15 and 29%. So whatever number shows up here will be the coupon, and it'll be good for 24 hours. And it'll be good for both the quarterly and the annual membership. Everybody ready? Drum roll. It's 22% off. So right after we get off this, the coupon code, and let me actually pull it up here. I just forgot the coupon code. Oh, I remember what it was. No, actually, let me look it up. Let me log in to make sure that I have the right coupon code for everybody. Give me 1 second, and I'll answer any of your questions. The only way to get access to the plugins and the themes that you have seen not only demonstrated in this is to join the membership. Right now there are 6 plugins released, 5 themes, a main theme, and then 5 child themes. Almost there. I just had to log into the coupon area. Okay, it is Flash 419. I'm plugging it in right now. That it is for 22% off. You can use that for either 22% off Flash 419 because it's April 19th. The coupon is for anybody who's not a member yet. And I do want to point this out because some people don't know about it. That 22% off coupon also can be used for this. I think. Oh, wait, I didn't put the coupon thing there. Nathan Ingram and I are doing a live training event in Birmingham, Alabama, the end of May. You don't want to miss out. If you have any questions about WP Studio or upcoming training or whether you'd fit in, because our training library is getting fairly robust, fully searchable, lots of hours of training, lots of plugins and themes already in your toolbox, access to all the webinars. The coupon is good for essentially 24 to 48 hours. I think Thursday. It'll close off probably Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. Thursday, it will close off. And if you have any questions, just go to the membership page, go down to the bottom, and there's a way that you can get in touch with me directly. Yes, for those of you who are wondering, back in February, I did offer some founder specials. There were 50 slots, and it sold out within 24 hours, or within 30 hours. So I had to close it. And we have just recently, last week, we reopened it again. The final thing I'll say, and I know I've said final a lot today, I want you to know about this. Stay watchful on the upcoming webinars. Why? Because I'm going to be doing a lot more free events, and you'll actually see that anybody can register for the free one if you see free event. So Tuesday, May 2nd, I'm doing a free event on pods. Over here on Wednesday, May 17th. I'm using my theme, the Voce theme, to rebuild a site, and you'll see it everything step by step. So you can attend that for free. And there's a number of additional webinars that will be happening as well. So thanks everybody for joining me on this first free webinar. We'll be doing a lot more free stuff because at the end of the day, I just want people to grow in their skills, and I just want to be somebody who can help you all succeed with your clients. Again, you can ask anybody there in the chat room who's been a member if they find support and value in our community, because that's who we are. Here at WPStudio, we're about community first, training second, and that's the order we go. So take care, everybody. For those of you who are members, this recording will be available in the training library. And hopefully I will see you all in Slack. Have a great rest of a Wednesday, and thank you for those of you who joined us for the first time. And I hope to see you on future webinars. Take care, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.